Goracle or something dumb like that, because then that would be like easy pass just based off that name alone. Uh,
Yeah, being developed by Al Gore. I think. And hello again, everybody. We are back for another 10-minute eye test Wednesday. Sasha and Carmelo here from Arcanum Ventures, and today we've got a pretty fun one. I think I'm grateful in saying we're not doing another AI project. It seems like the AI is sort of taking a back seat. But we got something interesting. It's the newest and latest data oracle. Carmelo, how do you feel about this one?
I mean, I don't know a whole lot about it yet, and I'm also not positive there's no AI integration. Like, for all you know, I think people or projects are sneaking AI into their pitch decks and their websites now. So, for all we know, it could be an AI project.
This is very true. And so this is the one that we've got now. We saw it on Crypto Rank. As everyone knows, we like Crypto Rank. It's a great resource for upcoming IDOs, ICOs, IEOs, etc. And it's Goracle. It's a decentralized Oracle network on the Algorand blockchain. So, like, kind of specific. And Carmelo, one of the things that I saw here first off was the backers. You take a look, we've got some pretty big names here: Valhalla Capital, Big Brain Holdings, and Algorand Foundation, which, I mean, you and I know pretty well. I think Algorand Foundation, they give grants to projects that build on their network or provide infrastructure. So maybe that's what's happening here. We've got a data oracle that's launching specifically geared towards the Algorand blockchain, being incentivized to build on there. But hey, we all need data. We all need off-chain data, and Algorand is as good of a chain as any.
Yeah, that's a good point. That was the first thing I noticed was that they're building on Algorand, but I think, as you mentioned, maybe they're just starting there and then they're going to move to other chains in the future, because it makes sense, especially for oracles, to utilize multiple chains and provide data to just about any project that wants it. So I imagine they'll pivot to more chains in the future. But yeah, it's hard to ignore the backing. It's pretty good backing. We don't typically put too much credibility into that when we're doing due diligence, but for the purpose of this video, it's important to take a note of that, and that they have pretty good people on board on their cap table.
Yeah, especially considering, an extended down market, we haven't really seen like a significant upward or downward movement in the cryptocurrency markets. And we haven't really seen a lot of movement in the startup space either. And so when you see some big names like this hop on something, it makes you question, what are they seeing? This is how a lot of VCs actually do their own due diligence if they don't know how to properly evaluate an investment opportunity. So it's like one of the prime fundamentals. But I guess without further ado, we should just dive into this one and see. Do you want to make a prediction of what you think we'll see? Let's do this. Give me one green flag you might see and one red flag you might see.
One green flag or red flag that I think we will see, or that I or want to see.
Whatever you want or will.
Um, I I think two predictions off the top of my head. Like I said, I think they will pivot in the future. There's no sense in just being an Algorand project, but I think they would have some kind of weird Algorand centric name if that were the case. We've seen that in the past before with like launch pads and stuff. So I think they will, come to their senses and move to other chains in the future. So maybe that's in their documentation. Also, I'm sure I'm going to see the word or acronym AI at least once on their website. So
And
I'm just calling it now. Like,
I hope
there's got to be some mention of AI. Like, maybe they put it in last week. We don't know, but it's in there somewhere. I have a feeling.
I don't know what the hell an AI data oracle can look like. But I think those are good predictions. AI, yeah, like I'm 50-50 on that. I think one of the green flags I would like to see is a strong token use case, and the token being used to create accountability in the data sources, and whether that's data accuracy or reliability. I think that's a huge thing with data oracles, and we'll get into that in a little bit. One of the red flags, I suspect, because you see a lot of big names here on the funds and backers, and sometimes in a market like this, especially in order to gain some, some interest from some of these bigger names, you've got to play the marketing game a little bit. So I kind of suspect a red flag we'll see is maybe some inorganic engagement or low engagement on some social communities.
Yeah, that's possible. I think that's a pretty reasonable prediction.
I'm a reasonable kind of guy. And then with that said, let's go ahead and jump in. I'll start the clock right and now. Here we go. Goracle. Carmelo, what do those wise eyes see?
All right. Well, I'm seeing this weird trend with like robot androids on websites, and I'm not liking it because this just reassures me that my prediction about AI is going to be correct, my assumption. But, website looks pretty clean. I don't know what get NFT data on chain or price NFT, sports, weather. So they're going through all these typical, sorts of data. I don't know how sports or NFT data is useful, but I'm sure there's something I'm missing. Like I think we had somebody apply to us the other day, a gambling site that wants to trade gambling futures for sports, like as if they were stock vehicles. Or so maybe they could use something like this, that some sports on-chain data. So there's obviously a use case for oracles. Powering the future of blockchain, I think I've seen that maybe 400 million times. So I'm not a fan of that, but I do like the calls to action, launch app and read docs. That's pretty clear cut. And then they have their social links right there. So it's pretty easy to contact them, to read about their tokenomics. Layout's good. Not a fan of the copywriting or the robot guy. I don't know what the robot guy is doing there.
I don't know what that robot guy is doing either. It looks really awkward, like kind of like a shitty RoboCop. Looks like there's an IDO tomorrow. Today. So that's interesting. Yeah, and then I guess going back to this is something really cool, honestly, because this, when it comes to data oracles, what you're talking about is an off-chain data source that feeds data into an on-chain operating smart contract. And when you think about blockchain or cryptocurrency, you talk about immutability, right? It's code, it's set in stone, it's automated, and it triggers, and there's no way to walk it back. And so when you're talking about like this 100% accuracy of this code executing, and you have data coming in, that code will behave depending on a trigger that data might give it. And so you need that data to be as accurate, as reliable, and consistent as possible. And so we've seen a lot of data oracles, get started in the market with token or coin prices, pulling prices from a number of different sources. But when you think about the larger picture of data oracles, you think about how can you bring smart contract immutability into other things. For example, let's say futures on commodities based on weather forecasts, or casino or sports betting right here, like we see with sports. So this is kind of like the pie in the sky moment for all of these data oracles, yet many of them, if not all of them, are only limited to token and cryptocurrency prices right now. So the reason being, there's a lot of difficulty in making sure whatever data feeds you have off chain for like weather or sports scores or etc., these are all areas of inaccuracy or areas of like potential corruption that can screw up a decision that a smart contract makes. So this is I'd say very, very beginning stages of this, but I like to see that still. And so now we have an idea, like obviously it's a data oracle, right? They're targeting data from many different sources. But what I'm trying to understand is like, what does the token do? What do we do with it?
So I think this kind of confirms what you and I were saying, like rewarding people for helping secure the system. So I don't exactly know if we can figure that out in 10 minutes or get a good idea, but yeah, it looks like you run nodes and you help validate sources of data. I don't know if there's some sort of staking mechanism where you stake, and if you provide inaccurate data, then you're penalized or you lose that fund. You kind of put it in escrow, but that's kind of the typical structure we see with oracles. So I guess that's one of the most important things to understand about this or any oracle, is how they reward people and how they keep people honest.
So this is a very good point. And as an investor, I think if I had 10 minutes, that would be the main focus that I want to try and find out. So quick, before we jump into like more technical stuff, we see a lot of partners, we see a lot of backers, we see some, a blog that is on the website, which I know you like very much. Some social links,
Yeah, yeah.
pretty simple stuff.
And Claros,
And you know what?
Claros is a good service to help with decentralization and um, arbitration, or having people moderate and like kind of judge sources of data, I believe. So that's probably the source of their partnership. So that's pretty encouraging. It's a good white label solution, I think.
That is a good solution. And then, going along the lines of what we said before, the tokenomics, let's see what we could find here. They've got a tokenomics page, and here we go, economics design framework. This is what I like to see. It's like instead of just showing me a pie chart, we're seeing maybe some actual use cases. So um, I don't know why they use the word thickness.
With 2 C's, 3 C's.
But decision making protocol and resolution mechanism for governance. So resolution, that's interesting. I definitely want to dive deeper into there because it sounds like there's some sort of arbitration mechanism. There's something for disputing the accuracy of a potential data feed. I like that.
Yeah,
That's what you need to do with a decentralized token supply.
absolutely. You need that. You need a community to have a mechanism to hold data sources accountable if you want a Oracle that people will take seriously.
Mhm. And then looking down here, we've got platform activities as a financial incentive. So, that might be tied to like a payment barrier or access model. Not a huge fan of that, but, if it gets you the funding that you need, it's workable, and your target audience accepts it, that's good.
Yeah, I think
Then
it's okay to
safe.
have that. I think as one of your utilities, like they have several utilities here and they categorize them. But if that's your only utility, that's when you have a problem. But it's okay to make the token necessary for platform functions. If as long as you have other things like governance, you have security, you have other incentives in the ecosystem.
Mm. I like this already. I mean, rewarding for securing the system. It's like a classic sort of robust data oracle design, bringing in accountability with a decentralized token supply, essentially like even just escrow or collateralizing your
Mhm.
assets, right? If you were to act in a bad way, if you were to try and introduce corruption into the system or in a data feeds, that can strike your stake or that can strike your collateral. I'm assuming that they're using some sort of staking mechanism, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it said that on the main page that you have to stake, but I'm not sure um, how much you have to stake, or yeah, like you have to have it make sense. You can't have people like if they forfeiting a small amount of the native token, GORA, I think is the name of the token. That's a very easy pill to swallow if you're gaming the system and somehow manipulating data to your benefit, your advantage.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing I don't like seeing really is this large treasury allocation, which, I think we've done a few videos. We talked about this before in a tokenomics or a token supply distribution. As an investor, when I see, a sizable portion in treasury or liquidity reserve, it tells me that, maybe they're just keeping some of the token supply, they're retaining some of it for a rainy day. They don't have any sort of allocated use for those tokens, and that's just more equity that the company has. It's more that's more liquidation power that the team has, and that's concerning as an investor
Well,
because it means that you might be battling.
yeah, I mean, that that's necessary. Like, you need some sort of way for them to measure their treasury to manage that. Sorry, but yeah, obviously, it's worth it to ask them as an investor or potential investor what their plans are for that. I think two important takeaways from that. I like that they have a node round, so they have one targeting specific
Mm,
people that want to operate nodes, a node sale round, and I also like that. Um, Actually, no, I don't like that. But they have 33% ecosystem rewards, so that's something that came to mind,
yeah.
which is fine. But I'm wondering if they have some sort of way to replenish that because all these decentralized networks. If you give away all your tokens, then I have no idea what you're supposed to do next, unless you have a plan to buy them back or. maybe taking the forfeited tokens for people that are bad actors in escrow, and you claim those and you put them back into the ecosystem rewards bucket.
Yeah, it's a little concerning. Let's take a look. We're running out of time, so we're gonna go to the socials real quick. Twitter, give us your magic. So I'm seeing 77,000 followers according to this account. They're based out of Switzerland, and still I'm not a huge fan of his name. But let's look at some of the engagement we've got on some of these tweets. This alarm is awful. I gotta change this. Well, yeah, it looks like they retweet a lot.
Good engagement. I mean,
I don't know.
considering they're, I mean, not the best, but like, doesn't look totally inauthentic. They do a lot of spaces and AMAs, so it makes sense that they have a sizable community.
I'm a fan of the AMAs. I'm a fan of the spaces, leveraging these newer sort of methods, create a platform for yourself, get in touch with the audience. I like that. Well, staying true to the 10 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this because it is time for our verdict. And yeah, I think we saw some interesting stuff. I think, Carmelo, you know my bias. I'm like an absolute data nerd. It says right there in my name, in fact. So yeah, I might be a little bit biased in my evaluation, but why don't you go first? Tell me what you think about this one.
Well, first off, I'm kind of sad that I didn't see any mention of AI, because I just wanted some sweet confirmation bias. But I feel like if we dig a little bit deeper, if we had more than 10 minutes, we would see AI. But it's good that it's not prominently featured, because they're not trying to just shove it in there. But yeah, I think it's a tough one. If I was seriously considering investing in this, which, it's probably too late for that since it's launching today. I think the first thing I would look at is what it does differently than its competitors. Like if you look at Chainlink or Super Oracles, like they operate on a multitude of networks. So I would need to know that they're not going to only be on Algorand, and what they do differently. Do they have ways of getting and vetting better data sources? And also, I was going to say in the beginning of the video, like, oracles are tricky. Like I'm very bullish on them long term, but in the short term I'm not, because there just isn't a sophisticated enough use case for them. Smart contracts are not advanced enough to leverage this data and trigger automatically based off of like very good data sources. So I think the product market fit is a big discussion that nobody really has with oracles. There's no use cases for this yet, and that's why we see this low-hanging fruit of just focusing on coin prices. It's like the only thing we can think to do, and that's obviously on-chain to on-chain. There has been no use cases for off-chain data coming on-chain and empowering smart contracts, at least not yet. So I think in the future that's absolutely going to be a thing, but until that happens, I think it's a difficult thing to invest in an oracle, especially when you have big competitors with a big competitive moat like Chainlink, and whenever or if ever Super Oracles launches. Like I know there's some big oracles already operating, and they have all the power in the world to do whatever these new people or new projects are going to do better, because they're already established. They've been around for a while. So it's not a yes or a no. I definitely would obviously want to learn more about the Goracles, but yeah, it's a tricky one. Like it just goes to show that 10 minutes is never enough to get a good indicator of whether you like a project or not, just if you don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it passed the 10-minute eye test. And I guess passing the 10-minute eye test is literally just not failing, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not awful, or if you're not just throwing a bunch of red flags everywhere, then you pass the 10-minute eye test. Yeah, I tend to agree with you, honestly. This is a funky one because, look, the Oracle space is very competitive, and to be fair, like Chainlink is doing a great job. They've been around for a while. They have a reputation. They have a lot of momentum.
Huge community.
Super Oracles were also, yeah, huge community. Super Oracles, they raised an absurd amount of funding across a number of different rounds. They've onboarded PhD mathematicians, statisticians, developers. They have a massive team, and I think they're currently active across 33 networks. Algorand's not one of them though. So maybe that's the gap they saw. But think about Super Oracle's journey so far as a data oracle. I think over the past 2 years, they've been able to branch across 33 networks. And so they've got the resources, they've got the know how, they've got unique products that tie to off chain data, bringing, delivery on chain. And so, what's to stop them by completely pivoting into Algorand and developing there? So it is concerning as an investor. But the token use case, that aligns with something that is like consistent with like a good data oracle model. Nothing kind of like degen ish. So I like that. And so yeah, I'd probably look into it a little bit more. But again, I would tread cautiously because it's like that. It's like that common trope, right? Like if you, let's say you want to build, like an online marketplace for like used goods, like a Craigslist, but like with friend profiles. Like, what's to say Facebook won't just throw another like $100 million at Facebook Marketplace and just create a much better product and make you completely obsolete 1 month. So this is the risk that you play as an investor. So definitely want to look more into it. Not going to say no, but yeah, Goracle. This name, man, I don't know
At least you know it's an
about this
oracle.
name.
Like, I think a name, one of the most important functions is that you know what it does. And we've seen some projects where it's a complete mystery, that are applying to us for funding or backing. And this one I know right away, at least it's an oracle. I didn't know it was only on Algorand, but I'm glad it's not like Algoracle or something dumb like that, because then that would be like easy pass just based off that name alone. Uh,
Yeah, being developed by Al Gore. I think Doracle would have been even better. But yeah, Goracle, go get it, man. Good job. And best of luck today with the IDO. As always, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe and do all of the things. And until next time, be sure to leave some comments if there's a certain project you want us to see. Thanks for tuning in to the 10-minute eye test.
See you next
Adios.
week. Ba, 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 ba.
Woo.